go for a more modest look today. Hi, my name is Anna Vanston, and I'm auditioning for Mamma Mia 5. I'm like Jimmy Buffett's vision of a better America. Okay, we gotta start. Who among us played Wii Sports Resort and didn't think, I wanna go there? It was magical. Sword fighting, wakeboarding, archery inside a volcano, it had it all. So I want to find out how much a stay at the Wii Sports Resort would cost you in real life. And I'm not joking, I need to change hats now. This hat was not worth the bit. Yeah, she had a backup floppy sun hat. She's prepared. Anyway, there truly is no real-world equivalent, so this was a lot harder than I thought. But why is there no real-world resort like this? Well, let's start with the activity you start with in the game, skydiving. Now, skydiving in and of itself isn't that strange or inaccessible, but skydiving solo without anyone attached to you requires a skydiving A license, which allows one to jump without supervision, but also allows a jumper to do group jumps and jumps near water, both things that the Wii Sports Resort participants do. Now, there are a bunch of exams and other things you have to do to get a skydiving A license, but what I care about for this video is what it'll cost you. And I found this place that bundles all of the costs of training and membership fees and whatnot into a neat little $3,226 price tag, so I'm happy to go with that. We can even say the resort offers this week-long course and includes it in its total cost. But what about the rest of the activities offered? Well, the main problem with trying to figure out exact prices for these activities is that real-world resorts are usually all-inclusive, so you can't order activities a la carte to find out how much each one is worth individually. However, the Sandals resorts offer many of the activities that are in the game. Also, I should clarify in this video that I'm only looking at the Wii Sports Resort activities. There are other games with other activities that take place on Woohoo Island, but those aren't being considered here. But at the Sandals resorts, you can participate in table tennis, basketball, golf, bowling, wakeboarding, and kayaking, which I'm gonna say is close enough to canoeing. And since they offer a lot more activities in addition to those, I feel comfortable saying that frisbee golf, archery, and cycling could easily be swapped out for the others and stay at the same price. Now, just to double check that this was fair, I actually found another resort that offered archery among other activities, and the prices were much lower than Sandals. And I found several resorts that included complimentary bicycles for cycling, so I feel fine saying that everything about equals out. And their ticket prices include lodging and meals, which would need to be taken into consideration for the Wii Sports Resort attendees as well. Great, so what is that price? Well, this is the complicated part. See, none of the individual Sandals resorts offer all of those activities. In fact, here's a chart showing which resorts have which activities and what they cost for a 1-week stay. For all of them, I chose the cheapest room they had available for 2026 to make sure it was far enough ahead that they wouldn't be booked up already. And what better week to book a stay than smack dab in the middle of summer, a cheeky little week-long stay Sunday to Sunday in July. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of consistency. The one that offers bowling isn't the most expensive, the ones that offer golf aren't necessarily the most expensive, and even these two resorts that offer the same things have about a $700 difference between the two prices. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take the price of the most expensive one, and since this other one offers what the first is missing, basketball and bowling, I'll add the difference between the two to the more expensive one. Seems fair. So that would come out to $7,647 for a week-long stay. And in a week, you can do about 3 activities a day. Now, there's another important difference between these activities offered in the real-world resorts and the Wii Sports Resort, and that's individualized attention. Sure, table tennis at a Sandals resort might be complimentary, but that's likely because they have multiple tables where multiple guests can play at once. And I do consider that the case for several activities at the Wii Sports Resort. The cycling races would be a scheduled thing, and frisbee golf and archery would work like mini golf does, where there's a continuous moving line of people shuffling stations whenever they're done at one. But there are some activities where this isn't the case. Going back to table tennis, there's one table on the island. So if you want to enter into a mini tournament or do a return challenge, you're taking up some precious real estate that's gonna factor into the cost. So I would say a return challenge would have an additional value of $15, and a match where you're facing off against up to 5 people is probably gonna have a $35 entry fee. And then in the bowling realm, regular bowling? Totally fine. Look, other people are playing too. But if you think you're getting this specialized 100-pin knockdown challenge for free, you're crazy. That's 25 cold ones out of your pocket. The final thing we have to talk about is basketball. Pickup game? Fine, multiple people playing. The 3-point contest is what we need to talk about. And it's not because it's just you, it's the fireworks. A firework goes off every time you make a shot. They're the big ones too! I remember growing up with smoke bombs and snap pops and just being shook when I heard how much the big ones cost. Now yes, it's the venue that's purchasing them, but every single expense to the venue that benefits the guest is reflected in the ticket price. So I found a quote from Premier Pyrotechnics where their pyro musicals, which are fireworks choreographed to music, are $1,000 to $2,000 per minute. Time to music, time to free throws, close enough. And per minute, you say? What a coincidence. And anytime I get a range for the cost, I'm gonna go with the lowest cost, since this whole thing is like one ginormous bundle deal. So this customized fireworks display that is a backdrop for basketball is gonna be a cool 1K. Luxury resorts, man. Now you might have noticed that there are still a lot of activities I haven't covered so far, and that's because I couldn't find any of the remaining activities as a complimentary option at pretty much any resort, so these costs are gonna have to be taken into account individually. Starting with sword fighting, and this is by far the hardest one to quantify. I started by looking at foam swords, since I think it's the closest real-world equivalent to fighting with these things. But there are so many different types of foam sword fighting events with different price tags. There are camps that range from hundreds to thousands of dollars. There are group LARP events that go for around $25. There's foam fighting at the Anime Magic Convention, where a day pass is about $60. But none of these things are exactly what we're looking for. And that's because what we're looking for is weird. Starting with Duel, you're facing off one-on-one against up to 10 trained fighters with no time limit, sometimes going well into the evening with a setting and a crowd like that? This is an event. This is something you booked ahead of time. I found a program called Majestic Adventures that offers foam sword events starting at $175, and it was their arena and tournament event that caught my eye. Duel against your friends or the Red Knight? How intriguing. I hope it's met. But really, it's got the word duel in it, it uses foam swords, and it sets you up against someone who is hired to fight you. Now, of course, it gets way more complicated when you take into account pricing for more than 1 hour and the added expense if you need more employees. But seeing as how each worker should cover 15 participants, and we can't prove how many people are participating a day or the exact number of hours the employees are working, this kind of becomes an impossible math equation. And also, these workers are doing multiple things around the resort, so they're getting salary. So you know what? I'm gonna say it's a $200 value per guest due to its exclusivity and be done with it. My perfectionism hates it, but I'm trying to solve the impossible here. Speed Slice, on the other hand, is complimentary. It goes quickly, a couple people can do it at a time, and it's really just an excuse for Matt to throw things at you and make a mockery of you before y'all fight. And now, for everyone's favorite, Showdown. I bet y'all were wondering how I was gonna do this one after I just had a mental breakdown over Duel, huh? I could go back to the events page of Majestic Adventures. I'm not going to. And that's because, while I could chalk this up to the participants that fight against you perhaps being me's training for Super Smash Bros., I don't actually think it's real at all. It's because of this moment right here. Oh, I think this is VR, which I know is a disappointing scenario, but honestly, it really does make the most sense from a business standpoint. Multiple guests could be living out this main character storyline without anyone actually being at risk of injury and without spending the time, energy, and resources into getting an entire horde to fight a single guest. These defeated me's could have easily been programmed to just get up and run off after a certain amount of time. They don't even just vanish. They go away like Pokemon being recalled back into a ball with a blue kind of electronic effect. I'm saying that this is a complex immersive VR experience that the resort offers. But if you think that makes it free, oh no. I don't know why exactly, but VR experiences are always so much more expensive than you expect them to be. I have never once passed by a VR setup in the mall and been like, yeah, that's like a reasonable price. It's always like $50. I just know in my heart that it would cost you $50 to use the friggin' VR headset at the Wii Sports Resort. And to double down, I just looked up the cost of VR experiences, and the very first one that came up was $50. That's the price, folks. What can I say? But we're not even close to being done racking up the price, because another thing that's gonna factor into the price tag are the trained island dogs. Yeah, the dog you participate in the Frisbee challenge with, not your dog. Resort dog. These dogs are described vaguely and somewhat ominously in the island flyover descriptions. The dogs on the beach. Hopefully the dogs won't get into the next shipment of tennis balls too. It's always the dogs. So I have to assume you rent one of the dogs to participate in the Frisbee event. But renting a dog to just hang out with is not really a thing in real life. Not like an official business thing anyway. However, I did find one nonprofit in LA where you can rent a dog to take on a hike, which is very LA coded. But more importantly, it gives us a solid number at $45 per person. Now you, like me, might have been a bit surprised to see that power cruising, or jet skiing, didn't fall under the often covered by resorts list of activities. While it might have been more popular long ago, jet skis have been banned in several places due to the frequency and severity of accidents caused by them, and you just don't see them included in complimentary resort activities anymore. But there are, of course, places that will still rent you a jet ski, so we'll go off those numbers. I actually found a couple resorts that used the same third-party rental company that charged $139 for a 1-hour rental, so let's go with that. And if you're wondering if there would be an extra cost for the exclusivity of getting to go around the track by yourself, nah, both this and the canoeing track go by fast enough where you might have to sign up for a little time slot or something, but I don't think it'd be enough of a way to justify an additional cost. And finally, the big kahuna, the plane activities. Ironically enough, if you were merely a passenger with a Wii Sports Resort employee flying the plane, this wouldn't be a big deal. But they had to have it so that you fly the plane. So what would this require? There are ultralight planes you can fly without a license, but the conditions that must be met simply don't fit the scenario. While I'm pretty dang sure the Wii Sports Resort planes aren't one for one with any real plane, to me they most resemble the Stinson Model O or Pete and Paul Air Camper, but both well exceed many of these requirements. Weight alone, the Stinson weighs 2,617 pounds and the Pete and Paul weighs 610 pounds. Also, the fact that there's a two-person version of this plane rules it out altogether since the aircraft can only have one seat. Well, then let's move one license up to a sport pilot license. With a sport pilot license, you can fly a light sport aircraft, check. You can fly more than one passenger, fine, check. You can only fly for sport or commercial purposes, check. And you can only fly during the day. Looks like we're getting a private pilot license. That's gonna be an average of 15 to 20K. But don't worry, we'll go with the lower number since the resort bundles in flight school. So what would it cost to attend the Wii Sports Resort in real life? You could have all of this, the full week-long experience, for only $27,382. Book me a ticket. By the way, this doesn't include a ticket to the destination itself, but considering there's no way to tell where any given individual is coming from, that part ain't my job. And the safety waiver at this place is sure to be airtight, so leave some room in the budget for the hospital trip when you inevitably receive third-degree burns from an active volcano. Now you may be thinking, but Anna, the skydiving license and pilot's license are one-time costs, no? So the next time I go back, it'll be dirt cheap. Well, cheaper. You do need to renew your skydiving license annually for $83, unless you want to get the lifetime membership for $2,500, which doesn't seem like a super great deal to me. Unless you're gonna be skydiving for more than 30 more years. But we're just gonna go with the annual membership. And then private pilot's licenses never expire, but you do need a current medical certificate and biennial flight review. Medical certificates expire after 5 years until you're 40, then expire after 2 years, and will run you about $100 to $200, we'll say $100. And you have to do a biennial flight review with an instructor every 2 years to test your proficiency, and I found one here for $225. So at most, a returning trip would cost you $9,564. But if nothing's expired, you could take another trip for $9,156. Either way, I know one person who's not going to the Wii Sports Resort. Adoink! I can afford to vacation to my local coffee shop. I had to take a loan out to get this big floppy hat. Now might be a good time to plug my Patreon. Would you shell out $27K to go to the Wii Sports Resort? Or how much would you be willing to pay for that experience? And is there any other video game resort you would rather stay at? I'm gonna go ponder these answers myself as I cry into my vacation coffee. See y'all in the next one.
Goombanna is the one to watch, she didn't come to play. Gaming vids that'll make you laugh and think and put them on replay. Intelligent, kind of funny, her community's #1. Stick around and kick your feet up. Goombanna has just begun.